La, welcome to the players' lounge. Yeah. When no other moment, man, it can't compare. Due to the obvious, people look at me and then they envious. And they the ones that be grinning and acting the friendliest. Yeah. Things are moving in the right direction. Making sure I'm keeping things up in the right perspective. Yeah.
All right, everybody. Hey, welcome to the inaugural first episode of the 48-Hour Rule podcast. You know, I'm really looking forward to this. I mean, everybody looks at everybody on the screen here, and I'm not the one anybody wants to hear from. So really looking forward to hearing from my guys in just a second here. Before we kick into everything, you know, want to tip my hat over here to Derek Tuimauga. Yo, Derek, you know, back in the day, man, you and me, when I very first got UteNation going, we kind of had this idea, right? And let's do a 48-hour rule article, because 48-hour rule with Utah, it's kind of a special thing, right? And you know, we got it going. We did a fun little Q&A with the former players. Everybody ate it up, but it's not the same as a podcast, right? So, you know, you guys like to talk. You guys don't like to write. It's a little bit easier that way. So this is going to be fun. I'm really looking forward to, you know, just getting this thing going and having fun with everybody.
Yeah, Alex, it's really cool to see this all kind of come together from the years of you pushing on it. You know, when you got Polynesians, you throw ideas to us. We're always like, yeah, that sounds good, and then like we're just like, yeah, he's not gonna call me back on that, and I'm just not even gonna bother with it. But man, 48-hour, what a fun thing about Utah. Like, what a legacy that 40-hour rule really means. I mean, you look on this call today, you got Cal Beck, who is our OG, quote unquote OG of the call today.
Cal, 48-hour rule was something that started back in the day with Coach Mack. Is that correct?
Yes, 48-hour rule loosely started back then, and it's merged. It's evolved a lot, just like a lot of things in the Utah program have. But the 48-hour rule was put in essence back in the 90s at that Mack run.
Yeah. And to give everyone a little bit of context, obviously 48-hour rule, and the guys will kind of go through a little bit more in depth on that, was really 48 hours before the game time. It was time to lock in. And I know Coach Witt has always said, hey, 48-hour rule is in effect. It's time to lock in. You know, and obviously that meant one thing from the football standpoint, and it still does very much so. But from a cultural standpoint, one thing that really has separated Utah from any other program in my mind in the country, and we'll kind of dive through this of the intricacies and kind of the differences with Utah football, was 48-hour rule of how it brought everyone together. And so with 48-hour rule, all the Polynesians, a big thing that comes to us is culture, and always bringing people together and having everyone really come together at a time and to share stories and to bond together, right? And so 48-hour rule was a perfect time where we would all come together and that night be able to get together at a house and to be able to gather around a circle. And in the Polynesian culture, kava is a big thing that we use to unite everyone. And so in that circle, stories are told, legends are passed down, things of that nature. And so we took that and flipped that into Utah football, being able to keep the tradition going. You know, speaking of Cal, there's guys like Maka Kimwatu, his brother Chris Kimwatu. I remember when I came, like those guys would come to 48-hour and they would tell us stories about Cal's days, and it just keeps being passed on and passed forward. And so I'm really excited about this kind of podcast format because it's truly unique to Utah from like a U-boy standpoint to unite everyone and to keep everyone aligned and knowing that like 48-hour rule is something that just is beyond football in many ways. It's something that truly is able to unite everyone before, you know, essentially going into battle 48 hours from that point. And so, you know, I know on the call today, we got some legends and really excited to have everyone here. Alex, again, for setting this all up. But maybe we can go around and starting with our OG Cal and just introducing yourself, a little bit about the years you played, and then maybe your take on 48-hour rule and just kind of maybe an update on
what it means
where you're at.
Yeah,
where you're at and what you're up to.
So Cal Beck, Started in 94, was my freshman year, the year this valley turned red and never has turned back after the 34-17 Provo whooping in Rice Eccles. It's a pleasure to be here, specifically with all of you gentlemen I'm seeing on the screen, but I'll get to that in a moment. The 48-hour rule, the family culture at Utah football has always been a major draw. When I played at Utah, very, very rarely were there in-state players recruited playing for Utah. Everybody was from out of state, specifically the island Polynesian pipeline that McBride fostered and built from Hawaii. So you had a group of people that were being trusted, or that were trusting McBride to raise their young men coming to play college football. And McBride established a family culture immediately within the locker room and his team. That was an expectation. Nobody ever spent Thanksgiving alone. You always had some place to go. There was family support there. That was the essence of the Utah football locker room from the first day that I walked in. That was something that was a strong draw. You had people from the East Coast, Texas, California, all over the place. As the years have progressed, that, like you just mentioned, morphed into something bigger and better. The 48-hour rule was somewhat initiated by Bill Smith, an old linebackers coach at Utah in the 90s, because one of his favorite sayings was loose lips sink ships. And that was basically 48 hours before the game. You didn't use the phone. You didn't talk to your family about what was going on. Like, it was all hush hush because you had to lock in. They were afraid of outside distractions drawing us from the mission at hand. Obviously, the missions grew bigger and better and more nationwide statements as the years have progressed. But it is easy to look back and see that foundation of family coming from that 48-hour rule and then being adopted and grown and fed gorgeously over the last couple of decades.
You know, and then obviously we got our guys K. Scott and Zack Moss on here. You know, K. Scott, I mean, everybody kind of heard from you on the radio the other day, unless they were living under a rock. So, you know, I want to hear from our guy Zack here. You know, what did something like this mean to you and just being a Ute, man?
Yeah, so you know, the 40-hour rule for me was nice to have that, and because we had what felt like a family. You know, I've always said, like, the class I came in with, we're really tight. Like, we all still, you know, talk to this day, you know, hang out when we can. And, you know, we've all been able to also play on Sundays against each other, with each other and stuff like that. But, like, we really had a family knit type group in the 40-hour rule. And then, like Kyle was saying, just that family aspect that you had to have, right? Like, we didn't have guys doing things by themselves. We didn't have guys Thanksgivings by themselves, right? Like, it was always, you know, if you saw one guy, it was at least another 4 or 5 somewhere with them. So that was big for me, coming all the way from Miami. Obviously, you know, coming from all the way over there to Utah, not knowing where the hell I was going. Obviously, I played with 2 guys that I went to high school with, which was nice to have, but still was just that whole entire family aspect that you felt, you know, that I felt on my official visit, and how they treated me then, which is what drew me in to coming all the way across the country. And now you start to see, you know, like he was saying, like that pipeline of different guys from different places. You're starting to get more guys from Florida, and not just Texas and California, but you're starting to get guys from different parts of the country. And guys can really feel that and really see that that brotherhood that we have, and you know, it's really, really great to see. And the 40-hour rule, you know, like, locking in was big. You know, we had some really good teams from 16 to 19 that really bought into that. We had a lot of Polynesian guys, Lecky Fotu, Bradley, and I, just some of the guys top of my brain. Like, we really had some dudes that really stuck with that culture and understood it, and cared for it, and not let the ball drop on none of that stuff either. And that was big for us, because that was a big engine for us, was those guys on that side of the ball, and how everybody just kind of treat each other in that 18 and 19 years. Specifically for me, we were just so tight and so knitted together.
You know, and Kenneth, if you could answer the same thing when you're responding to this too, but Zack, you know, when it comes down to it, I mean, the Polynesian culture is unique, right? And that's something that is very unique to not just Utah, but this state as well, right? You know, what kind of elements and aspects from that do you feel like were maybe incorporated into the program that, you know, made that family bond and that brotherhood so effective that, you know, maybe you carry even some of that stuff with you still to this day, but, you know, that allowed you guys to have that success when you were up at Utah?
I think the key thing is just the brotherhood. Like I said, like if you saw one Polynesian guy, you usually saw 3-4 others behind him, right? It was never gonna be. If we had like if the guys were like, you know, in the heat of the battle, in the game or even at practice, and you know it was a Polynesian guy and somebody else at that moment, the Polynesian guy is not fighting that person or going up against that person by themselves, right? They're gonna have, you know, they're gonna have each other's back. So I think that was the biggest thing, just like that brotherhood. Like, you know, we're all connected, we're all family, we all doing this for each other. So that was the biggest thing, because like, you know, when you go play in the NFL, it's really hard to, you know, try to have that family aspect with so many different things going on. So you really can see that at Utah, and that's why I think it's so easy for a lot of guys to come back, because a lot of people don't go back to their schools, right? Especially, you know, when it's fresh, you know, you've been gone for 4 or 5 years. Okay, cool. But when you can leave 10, 15 years, coaching staff is turned over and all this different stuff, like you still feel like this is home and you can be there and support the school in that way, just because of the brotherhood that has outlasted all those different type of changes.
See, and one thing I love about you, and no offense to you on this, Kenneth Scott, but you know, you're living in Utah, you know,
Yeah.
and so that's unique, you know, just to see you plant your roots down here and, you know, be raising your family out here, man. So
Yeah, I'm dropping my location.
yeah, I'm not dropping your location. Don't worry about that.
You good.
Oh, geez. But hey, Kenneth, man, let's hear it from you, bud.
Yeah, for me, I remember my like come to Utah moment happened in my very first year, freshman year. Obviously, when I was coming through the ranks as a highly touted recruit coming in, I was projected to be in the 2 deep, you know, work my way in with the guys. And so, you know, I remember the first fall camp when I got injured and I had to begin rehabbing and started my redshirt journey. We had a guy by the name of Nai Fotu, right? That boy was a beast, like a beast. And I remember him and I were rehabbing. And I was telling them how, like, man, I ain't feeling Utah right now because I'm from California, right? I'm alone in this essence because, like, I'm injured. Everybody's out at practice and etc. And I remember I was just expressing to him, you know, some of the things I was going through mentally, obviously, and stuff back home. And he was like, okay, you good, brother. You good. You not alone. We family. And like for him to say that type of stuff, it really meant something to me because like during rehab and me having to rehab with him, he always made sure that I was okay. And that kind of is like the Polynesian, like for me, have how they carry themselves. Like even when we went to like Starlo Tulalele, James Iona, like Sini, Sioti, like all them guys, like they played that same type of role, like no matter what season you were in your life. Like, you know, I'm talking about outside of football, not even on the field, but outside of football, like they got your back, you family. And so I've always, you know, was privileged enough to, you know, luckily for me, they thought like people out in the community thought me and Nate Orchard, or Nate Fakahafua in the beginning, Nate Orchard now, they thought we were brothers in the beginning because we kind of look alike. And so we used to always have a running joke like, oh yeah, that's my brother, you know. And so, you know, their culture is very welcoming. And so because of that makes you feel at home. And so, you know, I always tell people, you know, when it comes to Polynesians, man, you better not try to go against them, especially if I'm around, because they're family and they always treated me like family. And that's always the culture that's been had around here at Utah. And so that was my come to Utah moment as far as the family.
That's awesome, dude. Hey, Nate is always going to be Fakahafua to me, man.
Me too.
no offense, Nate. No offense.
Yeah,
it's a legendary name. I mean, come on. But no. So 48-hour rule wise, man. You know what aspects of that were so important and so special to you with dealing with that?
Man, for me, the 48-hour rule, obviously, whether we're at home, obviously we go to I don't want to say the hotel, but we go to the hotel and it's just us. Like you said, you just putting your phone on kind of like silent, do not disturb type moment. You just time to spend time with your brothers. And so for me, you know, obviously everybody know me and Drez is like brothers. And so it'll be like me, Drez, Reggie Dunn, Anthony Denham. We'll just all go to the room and like do stuff that we enjoy that gets us in the moment, like music. And so we'll just be hyping each other up. I had many roommates like Tim Patrick during that time, and just having deep conversations with him in that 48-hour span. And then Andre Lewis playing his meditational type music for us to go to sleep and really get in that zone. And so 48-hour rule for me is just locking in. Whatever helps you lock in at that moment. I know early on in my career, in order for me to lock in, I had to be around energy and hype and stuff like that. So me, Drez, Reggie Dunn, even Sean Asiata, he was a beast back then. He would come in, we would record music, and then as I got older and stuff like that, and more meditational items. So the 48-hour rule definitely played, like, depending on my career and stages or what mindset I want to put myself into, played a huge role in regards to like my focus. So that time was well had for sure.
Hey, so you mentioned a name on there, got me kind of laughing. So Tim Patrick, I remember you talking to me after practice one time. You're like, man, Kyle's trying to prove a point to me, man. He put him in with the ones.
Yeah, man.
You were so mad, dude. You were so mad. He's still in the league.
Yeah, man. He was balling, man. He was balling, like, and it was one of those. It was one of those situations too, because like the opportunity came when we played against Michigan, was at Michigan, and there is this type of route. It's like basically a drag route, and he took advantage of the opportunity. Like, you know what I'm saying? As far as like, I wasn't like looking back at it, like if I'm in the coach's position, I'm definitely rolling with that. And ever since then, that's when he found his way and started getting into the mold of things. So I always told him he was special. I always told him that, man, you that guy, you know what I'm saying? And so it was never like any competition between me and him, because I always felt like we all have our own little superpowers. Yeah. And but it was good, to see everybody balling like in their own way, whether it's Kalen, Drez, myself, Tim, just attributing. So yeah. At first, initially I was like, nah, bro, like what you mean? But then I understand the schematics of the game, right? And it's like, makes sense. He's better for that play than I am, right? Or better for this said role than I am at this moment. And so now I understand it. But before, I was hot.
That's a professional answer, man. Hey, guys, he was so mad. He was so damn mad.
Because that play, look, it's the mesh play. So, and Drez, every time he got that mesh, that boy was out of there. So I was like, oh, man, that's going to be me. Like, I'm going to catch that thing and I'm pro. But I wasn't reading the mesh right. And so it messed up timing. And then so once Tim got it in there, Tim was like a natural at it. And so I was like, damn. Now I got replaced by there. Every time they call a play like that, I'm out of there. But it's just, it was all fun and games. But at the moment, I was hot because I knew that was a home run play based off what I seen prior.
Hey, we got Cal's dog all hyped in the background too. There you go. But
that's why I was trying to mute it. I apologize.
Hey, so I want to hear from everybody. Obviously, the last 2 years, it's been a little bit difficult, as followers of the football team, right? Definitely a lot of bad injury luck. But at the same time, too, I sit back and tell everybody, look, law of averages, it's bound to happen, right? What was it? Like almost a decade of just almost complete dominance, and so it was bound to happen. All these teams in the Big 12, all these fans at least think that they're, relishing Utah's demise. I'm sorry to those guys, but it's not going to happen. There's a lot of unknowns coming into this season just because 50% of the roster is new. And that's something I would love to hear from everybody as well, is just how crazy it is just with the turnover of nowadays and everything too. But I want to hear from everybody, why this is going to be another big year for Utah, why they're going to turn it around, and why those 2 years are just outliers.
Oh, hold up, Alex. Before we get to all the serious talk, I wouldn't do my my role correctly. Hey, Scott, things kind of changed. My
Love
boy
it.
Sandbags, I'm pulling a plug for my boy. He does mobile. We had a family get together, and so instead of kava, it's like a root, and then you got to strain it. You got to have all this. Man, Polynesia's come a long way. We just put in a to-go bladder to go. So I got an extra one from our family event today.
Wow.
So I'll kick us off with a cup, and then once Zach shares his location on the next one, I'll make sure to bring him one. I'll get you. Hey Scott, I'll FedEx one of these over to you, my man.
Man,
I got you.
I'm gonna throw some Jolly Ranchers in at the bottom because the taste, is
Hey.
Cal, yeah, I was gonna say Cal's had it. K. Scott's had it. Zach, have you had this stuff yet? Have you tried it?
Yeah.
What did you think of it?
Not the easiest thing, but you do get to a point where you is relaxing and you ready to roll.
Yeah, no, I thought it'd be fitting, right? It's the 48-hour podcast. I was like, shoot, I got an extra bucket here or a little bag. Got to mix that up real quick. But now that we're set, took the cup for us, and we're ready to roll. So I'll let the smarter minds recap their thoughts.
Hey, we need sponsors, man. So hit up your boy. I got old Unga that follows the team like crazy too. He's got a little kava bar out there. So I was gonna hit him up, but he was out of town. So, but love it, man, love it, boys. So yeah, let's hear it. Why is this season gonna get the Utes back on track? Why were the last 2 years outliers? And what are you guys kind of looking forward to?
Yeah, well, the elephant in the locker room the last 2 years has been injury. I mean, 2 years ago, that was something that nobody ever predicts on, but it's a bug that everybody tries to avoid. And at the end of the year, championship football isn't really necessarily played by the best teams, but the healthiest teams that are still playing. 2 years ago, that was a situation that we faced all amongst all the positions. Last year, we were struggling for an identity. Those are outlier years because we have coaches in place where the schematics are in place, the philosophies in place, team identities in place. We have had to redefine ourselves and find a way to surge forward on multiple occasions in multiple areas the last couple of years. Consistency in staffing or injuries hasn't been something we're usually powerful on. For instance, next man up is a model that Whittingham has said for years and years and years. We found the bottom of next man up, unfortunately, due to the injury bug the last 2 years. Like you said, the law of averages. Yeah, you get on hot streaks. Everybody likes to talk about them. Nobody wants to remember those long low streaks. That's what I feel we've experienced with the injury bug.
Yeah, to piggyback on that, like the injuries has been the main thing. That's sports. It's like whoever is the healthiest. Right, we just saw it in the NBA Finals, right, with OKC and Pacers, right? You get an entirely different series, right, if one guy, especially in basketball, right, stays healthy. And for us, last season, and kind of the year before that as well, I think back to the Rose Bowl game a little bit, just where so many injuries, running backs playing corner, Bernard playing receiver at the same time. And all these guys for Ohio State having just career days. And I place it back to that being like one of the first times where I started seeing the injuries just keep hitting so catastrophic to where it just blew all the way up last season. And quarterbacking, we just had zero luck, right? Sometimes you can get away with a lot of different positions and kind of figure it out. But, usually when you go from QB1 to QB16, it's going to be a mean drop off somewhere. I mean, I'm all for running the ball, right? Obviously, I love it, but there's no way those guys are having fun just having to swap out different quarterbacks. It's so much stuff that goes into that just week in and week out where we've all played, right? So, you also get to that part where you kind of lose confidence a little bit in what are we actually able to go out there and do, right? Obviously, the effort and the fight, things you can control are still there. But then it gets to the part where, when the quarterback play is just it's not where you want it to be, it's only so much you can do. And we're all human. So you get to that realistic part of the game as well, just the player versus things you can't control. But, I think hopefully, I think we'll get into some of this. I'm kind of jumping the gun a little bit, but obviously I think we got a really good quarterback this year. I think last year, especially with all the injuries as well, I think the offense just got a bit stale under Ludwig. And I think obviously that's why he stepped away and changes had to be made regardless. I think it was going to happen anyways. So I think, bringing in a fresh new offense, bringing in new quarterback, new backs, different system, something I don't think that Utah has ever really had, like this style of a quarterback, like what we're going to be able to see, a guy who can truly be a dual threat, right? Obviously, we've had guys in the past that, right, quote unquote, are dual threats, but I think with a guy like this, especially how football is played now at that position, if you don't have a dual threat, right, you have to get in the shotgun. You got to be able to be a high level RPO team and pass run option team, right? Like I play with coaches where it's RPO, it's PRO, it's all these different things that you got to be able to excel at. And I think the way they're building this team, and I've been to a few practices, and what I see, and what the hype is behind these guys and the OC that they brought in, I think, right, obviously these guys stay healthy, things get back on track to where we're having these highs again.
We're a Gatorade container collision away from a totally different season last year.
Yeah.
I mean, if that doesn't happen, the entire season last year is a different conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah. Agreed. Zach, you mentioned something about, having how there has been dual threats, but he's like a true dual threat. The best way to describe it with Devon Dampier is, I'm sure that you guys are probably a little bit more strategic with your old Madden games or old college football games and everything, but I would always get like the most athletic or fastest dude on the damn roster. Okay, put him at quarterback, and then I would just I'd call a Hail Mary and I just run back and then just start running towards the line. And then if somebody would hit me, I'd take it. My friends hated playing me, right? So throw it last second, get the rough on the passer, or hit it deep, or there's nothing there and just bust it, right? And it's crazy to say it that way, but he does it a lot smarter, right? But that in essence is kind of how Devon is, just the plays that he keeps alive for such a long time. And man, I mean, Kenneth, you could even speak on this, man. Being a wide receiver, how would you like having a quarterback like that, where it's like he's running around, you've got all this time to get open, just break loose, he'll find you.
Yeah, man, it definitely adds a different layer to it because the play is never really over. So it's like a two-piece part of the play. So you got the original play, and then all right, now it's backyard football. Like, let's just do whatever. Take the man to try to get open, get to an open space to where he could just throw the ball while he's on the run. And so it does add a different element. And kind of going back to what Zach was talking about, man, I love the freshness of what this year is coming to. Because before it's like, okay, it seemed like the same old stuff and blah, blah, blah. But this year it's like not a breath of fresh air, but it's like something new that we haven't seen in a while. So I'm curious to see what's going to happen this year. It's all good thoughts going into it, but I do like what I see in regards to being fresh. But the new evolution of what's going on at the QB spot, like he's saying, having a true dual threat and the way things can open up after a play breaks down, or even shoot within the play. Like, you just never know that factor of it. Like, people can, run the base covers, play, the covers that's pertain to that said play. But once that thing goes, backyard football styles, all right, shoot, now we really got to find a way to play ball. And I think that's the level of nuance we're going to be able to get out of this, is that extended play action extended play of action after the original quote unquote play is done. If you guys kind of tracking with me, but that's what I'm interested to see.
I'm gonna cut in here real quick before my bad, but I'm just thinking off of what K Scott is saying, and now my brain is kind of rolling on this football thing. Just from the standpoint of the quarterback, I'm thinking of how, because we're not talking about the defense, right? Like, the defense is Coach Scally, Coach, those guys, Shaw, all those guys, they make that defense run no matter what, right? We never really get into the weeds of injuries on the defensive side of the ball, right? We don't really talk about that side. That side is usually going to do what it always does. So I'm just thinking, yes, Dampier is, hopefully going to have a really, really successful year. But now I'm thinking about the passing game with the receivers, right? Like, who are the guys in that room, right, that is going to step up to make him look the way he needs to and should look, right? Like, we've had, the past few years, it's been tight ends, right? We haven't had like that X receiver, you know what I mean? In case got like that guy outside where you look and I'm like, hey, we throwing a fade route right now. We're not running the ball, right? Like, let's throw the fade. So I'm like, who are those guys? And when you were talking, I'm just like thinking like, okay, who are the guys that's going to make him look like that caliber style quarterback that we know his athletic ability and gifts can allow him to get to, right? Like, you talk about the breaking of, making extra long plays, right? Extending plays and things like that. Who are the guys he can depend on and lean on to make those big plays, right? And the style offense that they're running at the same time is, who are the guys in that receiver room who can get a lot of rack, right? Who are those guys that's going to be able to break tackle? Who can be dynamic? We've always had, really since K. Scott left, we haven't had, a super dynamic receiver, right? We've had running backs, right? We've had tight ends, we've had dynamic offensive linemen, even but who are going to be those guys in this type of offense? I think for this style offense, it's going to come down to the receiver room a lot more than it ever has, because, when we had A-Rod, we were just going to turn around, hand the ball off, right? It didn't really matter how many people was in the box. Then you got the year after that, we had Troy Taylor, and it was kind of gives me a little vibes. We had him for 2 years. It kind of gives me a little vibes of what these guys are running a little bit, but so much more advanced. And then my last year with Ludwig, it was, hey, 10 guys in the box, doesn't matter. Turn around, hand the ball off, right? So I'm just thinking.
Well, you guys definitely had an identity.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Utah football, like you mentioned, Utah defense has had an identity since I played with Papa Whittingham.
Yeah.
I mean, that's taken care of. Next plug up. It don't matter who's in, who's out. You play a high standard.
Yeah.
The identity of the offense, and I'm glad you mentioned the wide receivers. We haven't had that wide receiver in some time that's been that threat to go up and get it, as well as give the quarterback a reason to keep their eyes downfield while they're scrambling. And that is what we're going to need for this quarterback this year. Be the wide receiver that not only is going to get open and grab those 50-50 balls and compete, but you got to give him a reason to keep his eyes downfield, because he is going to run. Previously, like you mentioned brilliantly, the tight ends. The tight ends would break in or out at the specific level. It's what cost us the Florida game down there. It was too predictable. But that's the person that there was there on the RPO option. And one thing that I'm looking forward to this year is the fantasy leagues that start setting up, trying to guess the depth chart weekly, since Whittingham is not going to release it now. There's going to be odds on that. People and fans are going to bet. So right now, I was talking about the wide receivers. The articles and what Whittingham has said in the last week, they're all doing great. They're all ready to perform, and they're all adapting to the offense extremely well.
Guys, wash, rinse, repeat from every year dating back to when Kenneth was there.
Yeah, let me add
every
to
year.
that. Let me add to that a little bit on this note, because in 2008, after we went to Sugar Bowl, so Zach Ludwig was there in 2008, so I was recruited during that class, and it was exactly what you said of like, hey, we know the offense. We're going to turn around, hand that ball off, and then they had BJ who could light it up, right? And they truly had some dynamic wide receivers that year of Sugar Bowl. But the offense was built heavily upon that run game, and that's why they recruited guys like me who were 6'4", 350 pounds, because we thought we were going that way. And then after 08 Sugar Bowl, Ludwig left. And they tried to go to a spread style, no huddle offense, very not to the degree that I believe this offense goes, right? Obviously, talent-wise, everything like that is very different. But we try to go no huddle. And the dynamic I think that is different from then to now is the offensive line during that time was they had offensive linemen that, and this is obviously offensive line, so I'm thinking about it, so don't fault me here. But we had offensive line that run block, and like when they said we're gonna start doing kick, like 3-step kickback, I was like, bro, like when in my high school film do you ever see that? Like you saw me hit the corner on a pull and maul dudes 15 yards downfield, so it was different, and it took a while to really adapt to that. And I think there were some growing pains that happened from an offensive standpoint during that time, where I believe this team may be set up differently, wide receiver aside. Where I'm excited for is this offensive line is the truth. Like there, and I may overreact, and I'm like, and I've said it before, I'm like, hey, this offensive line goes, this team goes. And maybe, you know, Zach can back me up a little bit on that because he played with some greats. But literally, like I look at this right tackle, left tackle combo, and I'm like, and I think Coach Witt said it, and Devon Dampier might have said it himself, where he's like, bro, I'm sending back there for 7 seconds, 8 seconds. And I'm like, if we can't find a receiver that can get open, K. Scott could throw on the pass right now, and I guarantee you hit that drag route, and he'll get open, my man, in 8 seconds. Like we should be okay. And like
some
I think
people are calling him the best tackle combo in the country this year.
Yeah,
That's
Zach could run for 2,000 yards with this line.
Oh,
and in case Scott, you wouldn't have to always be taking receptions right at the sideline.
Man, you know, so this is actually a good point that you guys are bringing up too. So I remember it was my senior year, you know, whenever was it junior year when we had Christensen and we had the spread offense.
So, yeah.
This is the only thing that worries me. I'm not gonna lie. So, like from when I started, when we had Eddie White, Matt Seattle, that's when I was my freshman year. And then we had John White, and then we had D Book, right? When all else fails, if something goes wrong, a simple thing may go wrong in the pass game. Something very small. We strip away the pass game, and it's 80-90% running. That's it. Like it didn't matter who we had at receiver. It didn't matter. We was gonna run that ball no matter what. And I remember John White had a game where he had 40 carries. I was like, God, we really put the ball like 10 times, right? And so I felt like no matter what talent we had on the outside, if something goes small, like completely wrong in the pass game, something really small, they just like, all right, well, that we stripped that apart. Let's go ahead and just hand the ball off from the rest of the game. Like it doesn't matter. All right, well, what I'm gonna send you that. You're gonna run past the first down for 2 yards, turn around, make sure it's a time throw. We're gonna keep the possession going. And it seemed like that was like the case, like especially during our time. It's like, man, like why? Like, things gonna happen in the pass game. And I remember it was the 2014 year we had Christian. The first 4 games, man, I thought I was gonna have like 100 catches because like the first 4 games, I remember I had like 8-9 catches in Washington State. Yeah. Like the first couple of games, Fresno State, and I thought I was like, oh, this is gonna be a crazy year. And then after that Washington State game, when we lost, right? Now all of a sudden we running 80-20. I'm like, God, come on. And all I'm doing is running 10-yard stop routes. I'm like, God dang. So it's like I'm hoping that. Oh yeah, when it came to blocking, shoot, I was gonna get it, but I'm hoping that like things change and there's opportunity for the passing game to keep going despite a mistake or two, because it's going to happen in the passing game. So I'm hoping that they just don't give up on it if there is a mistake. You know what I'm saying? That's the only wish.
Yeah.
And to your point on that, like I think it's very possible, because I'm thinking about that running back room. There's no one in there that's established themselves as the guy, right? Yep. Like you named off a few guys, John White, Asiata, right? Like you naming off these different these guys were who they were, at their respective times. This year, right? They don't have that guy that, okay, he's no one else is splitting time, right? No, we're not running back by committee. We're not trying to figure it out as the year goes on. So, like, obviously, the kid, Parker, right? Like, I've heard a lot of good things about him, and he looks the part, right?
Mhm.
But he hasn't officially taken over the room, obviously, because he hasn't played yet. So it's like I think the offense finally, like that's kind of why I'm happy I said fresh, because we don't have the turnover of the key guys, the locked in guys of who we getting the ball to, right? I think this ball can be spread across the field pretty evenly. And that's why I'm more so thinking I needed to be the receivers that take it, right? Because I wanted to be those guys because, right, I think Dampier is a junior. So we don't know, obviously now with the NIL stuff, guys come back a lot more times than they want to, right? They're going to figure out a way to get back, right? But it's like you don't know if he has a year, right? We don't know if he has 2 years. So I'm like, to get the absolute best out of this offense, it's going to be playing to his strengths, which is playing off schedule. He can play in the pocket, which he's going to be able to do because you got those two big dudes out there holding it down, right? And those two guys are important, right? But that interior is just as important. But those guys aren't getting a lot of love either, but they're doing their things as well. So I think for me, I'm like, the receivers got to go do it. I think the backs, they'll get theirs because playing with a dude like that who's ran for 1,000 yards, you're not gonna see you're gonna get too high. That safety ain't coming in that box, right? Because you can't do it, and then Dampier is going to be accounted for every snap, right? Like he's
They're
not
gonna have
going
to spy him.
got to. So it's like those guys in the backfield, they're gonna have their time, and whoever pulls that out. But
Even if
receivers.
Even if a running back did start to take charge, Whittingham wouldn't admit it in the press nor on the depth chart. It's going to be a mystery. I think the group that has the greatest opportunity for growth is the offensive line. They are the strongest, most cohesive unit, and it all starts on the line. That is Utah football, like you just mentioned. We establish the run, we win the physical battle. And that line will do that nicely this year. Yeah. As far as the offense, new offensive coordinator, same with UCLA. Nobody knows what to expect. We've never seen this quarterback. We've never seen the running back. We've never seen this OC. So one thing to expect is they've got a clean slate. Last year, we had high expectations for our number one. And as soon as he had to be replaced, our immediate question is, can we reach the level of expectation we had at the beginning of the game? This year, it's all for naught. We're more focused on the defense because they are reloading much better. They've got more experience coming back, but we expect that high level of football on the defense. I think the offensive line and the defensive line are going to be something to watch in the first game this year. They're going to establish what they're going to do for many years to come, specifically on the defensive line.
And then also, I'm sorry to add too, man, you guys are all right. That wide receiver unit is going to have to make some plays in regards. They're going to have an ample opportunity because the way you guys broke it out, great offensive line, great running back, and Dampier are going to have to be accounted for. So that's going to make a lot of one-on-ones on the outside. Oh, my gosh. So if you can win your matchup, it's a wrap. You're going to have a darn good seat. Ooh. So you guys are all right, man. Whoever, someone's going to have to step up in that receiver room, because it's going to be a lot of one-on-one opportunities on the outside.
You know what I love about the receiver room this year too, and it's been weird because obviously they won't release the depth chart. They've kind of talked about a 7 or 8 and everything. They do feel comfortable with the guys. Again, it's something that every year in fall camp, everybody's been excited. Everybody feels comfortable, right? But there's guys that do different things on this one this year, right? You got Merriweather and Simmons that are most likely going to be wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2. Davis is coming over with that familiarity, with Dampier. And then you got Zipperer that is a hell of a deep threat, right? Then you got JJ Buchanan, who's going to be kind of a Brant Keithy's freshman year, where he was more of a wide receiver that year, right? So there's a lot of intrigue. There's plenty of other guys that I haven't mentioned that there's some unique stuff to them. One thing I've heard is there's going to be a lot of short passes, just getting the ball out quick and getting the guys in space and letting them do damage with the yak. I mean, that's where Nate Johnson's going to come in, right? So he's not going to just be doing the sweeps and the end arounds, taking the direct snaps. He's going to be getting those. He's going to be getting the quick passes. He's going to be getting the screens and just put him in space. And I mean, we've all seen what Nate can do when he's in space, right? So it's going to be interesting. I do feel like, and I haven't heard this for certain, right? But so the one thing I know for certain is when Morgan takes over, Morgan steadfastly believes that he can maintain the same level of defense with an Urban Meyer style offense. Okay. So that is the style of offense he wants to run. And that is one of the reasons also why Utah kind of went this direction. Right. And so the stuff with years past where, this is going to be about, Utah's going to run the ball quite a bit. Right. But at the same time too, I don't see it being like in years past where Whittingham would go to Ludwig or any of the other guys like, hey, no, we've got to just start running the ball. We can't do this. We can't risk this. Right. I think that there's going to be a lot more. I think that there's going to be a lot more leeway this year, and so I'm really looking forward to that with Beck. But guys, so we've been talking a bunch here. Looking forward to doing this all season with you guys. That's the one thing we haven't mentioned, everybody. This is going to be something we're getting you guys on constantly. I'm going to be loving it. The fans are going to be loving it. I appreciate that you guys have the faith in me and wanting to do this and just being together with your boys, right? But so going forward, we'll obviously kind of talk about more so what we want to see in the game coming up. It's a little bit different now, right? Just because, again, both these teams being week one and, it's 50% turnover for Utah. I haven't even seen what the turnover is for UCLA. All I know is it was pretty crazy. And, they spent a bunch of money in the spring portal too. So it's going to be very, very interesting to see. So before we get out of here, I want to hear, what each of you guys kind of feel like the key is for Utah in this game, and hear a prediction from you guys.
The keys for the game for Utah is confidence in their identity and not going out there fumbling and falling down. They've got to come out of the tunnel ready to do things and make statements off the get-go. I also expect the ESPN predictions for our seniors or our season standings to be way off. They have us number 10 in the conference by the end of the season. They have us favored against. We are the underdogs against UCLA, Texas Tech, West Virginia, ASU, the team down south, Baylor, and both Kansas teams. Yet they are not that far off. Thank you. They're not that far off to say, like Mel Kiper mentioned, I think Utah's the dark horse. I'm going to call him out right now and say, if you're a true Utah believer, you know what Utah's going to do starting in week one in LA on Friday or on Saturday. My prediction is half of the must will be passed out drunk before the game starts with these late games on the West Coast, that these freshmen don't know how to party yet. We haven't had a home game. Another prediction I have for Saturday. I think that their quarterback, Nico, I'm a transfer or I'm a leave you. I think that's his last name. He is going to transfer away from UCLA by the middle of the third quarter because our defense will continue to extend our season pick six record. You all know how many years it's been. This will be year 22 that we have had a pick six for a touchdown on defense in a row, which we will do in every single game on the way to the Big 12 championship.
Every single game. Oh, okay.
Man. Defense is back. Defense is
Love it.
back.
Love the passion.
Man.
And the offense will be so productive, Scott Mitchell will be jealous.
Love to hear that expert analysis from him. So,
go ahead, Zach.
Who's got next?
Yes. Looking at this first game for sure, I think the main thing is the identity part. That's going to be the biggest thing, right? Like you said, not much turnover in the sense of guys from last year, OC and all those type of stuff. And then just the cohesiveness of these guys learning how to play with each other, like the NIL stuff and all these guys transferring in and out. These guys don't play with each other for more than 6 months, right? Like you don't practice with each other. You don't get to know each other. You don't want to fight for each other in that aspect as much as when you're, been in school for 3-4 years, right? And you know these guys and you know what to expect from these guys and you know what you're going into war with. So that's going to be a big thing because a lot of these guys, they transfer, for a lot of reasons, financial being number one thing. And maybe if they're not getting the ball as much, how does that react to the team, right? If I came over here to do this. So I'm looking for the cohesiveness side of the offense mainly because, I look at offense mainly. But I'm looking for that, just kind of see how that is going to go. I think, that's where the Utah football family stuff and, all that stuff is going to come into big time play because these guys have to buy in. I remember when I got here and, I had a hard time not kind of just learning the way a little bit. And I remember Coach Witt them saying that you're going to turn into us. We're not going to turn into you. So that's going to be huge. I want to see that just because of all these different guys coming in and playing with each other, having each other's back. Obviously, the offense being established and kind of seeing how the OC is going to call the game. This is going to be a lot of tempo stuff. It's going to be who are the guys getting the ball early. All those different things kind of give me a good insight of what's going to happen down the road. Obviously, for the season, man, finishing 10th, that's not even possible. You're going to have to make sure that there's nobody on the field for us to finish 10th. If these guys stay healthy, man, and they do what they're going to do, Coach Wade is going to have these guys ready to roll each and every week, no matter, underdogs or not. I remember 2018, we were underdogs a lot. And we figured out a way to carve things out and figure it out and play really good ball. So I'm not worried about us finishing 10th. I know we'll be where we want to be at the end of the year, and that's going to be the Big 12 championship game for sure.
I'll just wrap it by saying I know we're short on time, but I don't need to echo anything everybody said because it's all true. I think two things. One, when Utah's the underdog, Utah is the best at its best. And when it has that chip on the shoulder, that's when you got to watch out. Number two, I got some racks on this over-under that we need for the season. They're picking us to finish at 7.5. Your boy went all in. I'm going to come up, and then if I get a nice little bonus, maybe at the end of the podcast, come Big 12 championship game, I'll let you know how much it is. But this ship, I'm going for it. And there might be some money on this UCLA game, so if anyone's got some ins, let me know legally. Let me tell you about that. But man, I'm excited. I'm glad to be the token Polynesian on the show today. So appreciate this.
like that.
Oh.
But me, as far as the game, man, I think we're gonna come out on top 27-23. I don't know why that number popped in my head. 27-23, we're gonna come out on top. It's kind of mimicking what Cal and Zach were saying. So we're gonna get it done, man. I think it's gonna be a good showing for sure.
I'm gonna echo that score, 27-3.
Oh. There you go. Well, hey, I'm gonna say. I don't need to repeat anything you guys said. I'm just gonna say, I'm gonna take a line from a national guy that absolutely loves Utah and Utah's back. It's death taxes in Utah football from the beloved Joel Klatt, and Utah is gonna win this one 31-17. We'll say, and Utah's back, boys. So, hey. Looking forward to this season with you guys. Love that you guys are wanting to do this with me. I know everybody's going to be enjoying your insights and some of your stories and, just going along for the ride with us. So, again, want to thank you guys. Want to thank everybody else for joining in. Do everybody a favor here. Just hit the like and subscribe button and, be along for the ride this season. So appreciate you, boys.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it.
Good week. Go Utes.
Take care.
See y'all.
Eric, hey, next time Utah melee, buddy, get that memorized.
We'll come up with something. That's a little too much, man. That's a little much. We got to wait till Big 12 championship. We got to get Isaac to go do that.
There you go.
I'll text Isaac. He'll throw it off. That's Isaac.
They the ones that be grinning and acting the friendliest. Yeah. Things are moving in the right direction, making sure I'm keeping things up in the right perspective. Yeah, yes, that's knowledge and it comes with growth. Manifesting everything has been my main. When no other moment, man, it can't compare. West.